What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, checking out the County Comm Sliding Titanium T driver. And this is Gen 2, which just includes the addition of a travel case as well as an assortment of bits, but otherwise identical to Gen 1. Now, a really simple but interesting bit driver that you can pick up for $29.95 over on County Comm. So I'll put a link in the description as well as a coupon code to save you 10% if you are interested in picking this up, but probably going to be a pretty quick overview of the tool because it is really simple, but also going to talk a little bit about the use case and how I'm intending to use it going forward. I have a project that I'm working on that I'm going to throw this in, and so we'll talk about that, but start with just kind of the overview if that's all you're interested in. Now, standard 1/4-inch bit driver, it does have a magnet in there to hold the bits in place. It is titanium, so that magnet is significant. If you're looking for something that's not magnetic, there is a magnet in here. Now on the back side, you also have a 1/4-inch socket attachment point. And so that's really interesting. I don't think I've ever used it, but it is nice that it's there. It doesn't take up a lot of extra space, and there are for sure people that are gonna get some use out of that. Now, both of those sit on this titanium bar that's 3.75 inches long and can slide from side to side. And so, apart from the tool itself, you get this traveling case, which I don't really use, as well as 10 bits, assorted bits. So you have 4 Torx, 2 flat heads, 2 Phillips, and 2 hex. And they're titanium, black titanium dual nitride coated. They say it has a Rockwell hardness of 65.5, but don't really use the bits. They kind of just live in this case. I tend to carry WeHa bits, and usually pretty much all bit drivers that I get, I end up replacing the bits with WeHa bits. So not sure how well these hold up, but they do come with them. So if you don't have other bits, I'm sure they're perfectly serviceable. But the other thing you'll see in this case is this bit extender, which I'll talk about in a second. This is not included. This is just a generic, unbranded, don't know where it came from, bit extender that I threw in here because typically when I'm carrying this, I like to carry a bit extender. But the benefit of this, should also mention the weight. So because it's titanium, super lightweight, 0.95 ounces, so under an ounce total. But the benefit of this, there's 2 major ones that I see. The first being that it's really nice to get into tight spaces. So with the standard straight line bit driver, something that's tucked into a corner with things on 3 sides can be really hard to not only get into, but also have any sort of leverage to tighten something down or break something loose and loosen it up. And so it can be really hard to get into those small spaces with a straight line bit driver, something like this, which is also from CountyComm. But with this, you can get in there, make, 1/4 turns, pull it out, make 1/4 turns, and so get into small spaces with this a little bit better than you can with a straight line bit driver. Now the other nice thing is that you can use it in that T-shaped formation, which they mentioned. And so I'm gonna show what that looks like with the bit in it. And this is really nice. If you want a little bit more leverage, it's an easy way to hold it, and if you have a little bit more space, it's nice. But one thing you probably notice right off the bat is in kind of tighter quarters, your knuckles are right up against whatever you're working on. You're gonna be scratching and knocking up your knuckles like this. So that's why I like to have this bit extender. Same thing for those small spaces in the corner as well. But gives you a little bit of real estate to get away from that so you're not knocking your knuckles, and still works really well. It gives you the extra leverage that you don't have with that standard straight line bit driver. And so those are kind of the 2 main use cases that a lot of people will see. But the other thing is for knife maintenance, which I really like it. So if you have any knives that you've maintained that have a dual tooled pivot where it's tooled on both sides and it's not D-shaped, so it's free spinning, it can be really painful because you need to put something on each side to hold one in place and spin the other. And so if you've used 2 of these straight line bit drivers, it can be really frustrating. It's hard to reach the knife in the middle to keep it balanced and hold everything in place, and just a kind of frustrating experience. And so obviously it would be great if every knife company used D-shaped pivots so that you don't have that issue. But for the ones that do, they do make a tool specifically for this. This is from Glider. This is just a bit holder. So this tool itself doesn't spin. It's meant to sit on the table like this, and you can use 1 bit driver. This one will hold it in place. Now, the grip is on there, but it will spin. Once you get a decent amount of pressure, it kind of stops. But sometimes with breaking loose Loctite on a pivot, you might need to hold this in place until you get that broken loose, but usually the pressure, downward pressure, will hold it in place. But this is still kind of an awkward thing to balance the knife sometimes. And so it definitely works. It's 100% better than using two straight line bit drivers, but still not as good as pairing it with this T-shaped sliding driver. And so what I usually will do is put it in between my index and middle finger, and then you can use your other fingers to balance the knife, hold it in place, and it's a much simpler experience overall because you can hold the knife, you can get up close to it, and it's not as awkward a position as going straight downwards where it's wanting to lean, the knife is going to lean downwards. You can get everything balanced and get in there. And so I like that a lot, and works well just at home use. It works well to travel with it because it's so lightweight. And so mention that I want to work on a project with this, and I've been wanting to put together a small tinkerer's kit. And so I say tinkerer's kit because this isn't going to be something where you're doing heavy jobs. If you're a tradesman of any sort, if you use tools every day on your job, you're probably going to want a full-size tool made for the job. But for me, most of the time when I'm using these tools, I'm just tinkering with stuff. I'm taking apart knives or tinkering with random things and tightening screws that I notice that are loose and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. And so I want to pair it with some tools that will get me through 99% of those jobs and be able to fit inside a pouch that's lightweight and can slide in a back pocket. And so kind of initial just thoughts on this. I'm really just in the early phases of it, gonna have to buy a few things to complete it, I think. But pairing it with something like this SOG power pint, because it does have a bit driver on top, if you carry two of the same bit for whatever knife you're carrying, that's gonna be perfectly sufficient for getting those apart. And you can see together, these don't take up much real estate and aren't super heavy. Now, similar to the dilemma when we have to use two of the same Torx to hold one in place and spin the other, we run into the same thing with the pliers on most multi-tools. So I ended up picking up a long time ago these Knipex wrenches, and this is a 4-inch one, the smallest one they make, I believe, and didn't end up getting that much use out of it because most of the time, whatever I'm using these for, I could just use a multi-tool. And so I tend to carry a multi-tool, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to have both, although sometimes you have to hold a bolt in place and spin the nut or vice versa. And so impossible to do with just one multi-tool. And so partnering it with something like this, these three items will get me through 99% of the type of things that I'm doing. And so add in that bit extender, and we're still under 10 ounces total for all four of these combined. And so that's super lightweight, and I think a pretty good start. I'll probably add in some sort of utility knife and maybe some tweezers and a maybe magnifying glass, just a few simple things. But other than that, I want to keep it pretty lightweight and small so that it can fit in a small pouch in my back pocket. And so like I said, for me, this is more than enough for 99% of the stuff I do. If you need real tools, obviously get full-size tools that are gonna work better for the jobs you do, but I think this is a nice start. Now, one other downside to this, I mentioned the weight, super lightweight, which I'm one of the main things I'm targeting. But the other thing is this isn't the cheapest kit. It doesn't matter that much because I already have all of them, but I probably will try and put together a budget version as well just to do a video on to compare them. And I think that's gonna be the main thing that we see. Obviously there might be some quality differences, but the main thing we'll probably see trying to put together a budget version is that the items are gonna be a little bit heavier. For all of these, they've done a really good job of making efficient tools that don't weigh that much. And so if you have suggestions, definitely let me know in the comments below, but that will be a future video, and I think this is pretty fun. The other thing where you might lose a little bit with the budget version is just going to be aesthetics. I think these ones are pretty good looking for the most part, besides this extender, but don't know that they really anyone makes any titanium extenders. I'll probably have to look into that. That might look a little bit better, but otherwise I think you can get a lot of this functionality for a lot cheaper. Now, none of these items are particularly expensive, but combined, I do think it's pretty pricey for the size of toolkit that I'm doing. So $30 on this. I believe these you can probably find for around $40 for the Power Pint and probably around $35 to $40 for the Knipex. And so the extender, I've never actually bought one of these. I have a ton of them. They've all come free with different tools that I've bought. And so counting that it kind of is free. But still, with just these 3 tools, you're over $100 already, which is expensive for the size of tools we have. So we'll try and put together a budget one. If you have ideas for this version or the budget version, leave them in the comments below. But otherwise, let me know what you think of this spit driver, how else you might use it, if you have one, what your experience with it is. I've had it for a while and I do like it to use it a lot, but I don't carry it a ton. And so wanted to find a way where I can carry it a little bit more. But thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.